Hello everyone and welcome to Azam Sharp Weekly. In this video, I'm going to show you that how you can start testing your asynchronous code. Now this example is taken from Apple developer documentation and I will link to the actual article in the YouTube description. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to write a test that is going to make sure that Apple website or any other website is actually available and we can download the data from that website when we make a network request. So the first thing we should do is write a very descriptive name for our test. When downloading data from Apple's website, and then the actual test should download data successfully. You can even make it more descriptive if you want, that's perfectly fine. Now our first take of basically downloading the data would involve some sort of a variable called downloaded data, or downloaded data is fine actually, which is of type data and it's going to be optional. So this might be our first take, which I'll show you that this is not the correct way of doing things. Then we will go ahead and create a URL. So we will need a URL that will be for the Apple website, and we can use HTTPS or any other website. It doesn't have to be Apple. www.apple or just apple.com should be okay, apple.com. And now we can actually go ahead and use the URL session. So URL session.shared.data task with URL. We already have the URL. And for the next part, we're going to be passing in the data. We'll get the response and we'll get the error, which we are completely ignoring. And don't forget to call resume. Once we have downloaded the data, we can simply go ahead and assign the downloaded data to the data that we have downloaded from a network call. And finally, we can simply say assert not nil, which is downloaded data. Now you'll see that when I run this particular test, it is always going to fail, and the reason it's always going to fail is that downloaded data is always nil. And the reason that the downloaded data is always nil is that line number 26, which is this line, gets executed way before than line number 22, which is actually assigning the data to the downloaded data variable. Because line number 22 is part of the data task completion handler, which is the asynchronous request, which is, it's going to be completed eventually. But that was already too late, and the program already reached line number 26, and at that point, downloaded data was actually nil. So we can't really use this kind of approach. So when you have to test asynchronous request, you have to use expectations. So let's go ahead and do that. Expectation equals to expectation, and our expectation, you can write a string over here, is to download apple.com data. This is complete text. I mean, you can write more descriptive text, that's fine. Then after this is downloaded, what we can do is we can call assert not nil, and we can say that the data is not nil. Or we can also provide a message that no data was downloaded. And once you have checked that this is not nil, you have to fulfill the expectation. So if you don't fulfill the expectation, your expectation was, never met. And finally, you have to wait for it. So there is a wait function where you can pass your expectation and you can provide some sort of a timeout that I'm only going to wait like 10 seconds. So this basically is saying that wait for the expectation to be fulfilled. And what is your expectation? Well, your expectation is that you will download the apple.com data, and the point at which you are fulfilling your expectation is line number 23, where you are calling expectation.fulfill. And you're calling it from inside the closure where you have received the data. So expectation is only fulfilled when you actually have the data. And we are actually also making sure that data is not nil. So we have some data. All right. Now let's go ahead and run this test again. And you will see that now this test is going to hopefully pass because our expectation was met. So whenever you're doing asynchronous tests or writing asynchronous code that you want to test, make sure that you are using expectations and only fulfill the expectations when the criteria is met. Thank you so much. If you like this video and want to support my channel, then check out my courses on Udemy. You can see that I have many different courses ranging from SwiftUI, the best-selling course, machine learning and artificial intelligence in Swift, RxSwift, Combine, MVVM design pattern, ARKit, Flutter, blockchain, and much, much more. If you already have my courses, then that's great, and thank you so much. You can also support me using Patreon, so there is a link on the YouTube description about for Patreon subscribers. You can definitely use that link, and that will be great. But if you do want to purchase any of these courses, then the recommended approach will be to check out the YouTube description, and you will find the link to most of the courses where you can click and get the course. If you use the link in the description, then it will really help me out. Thank you so much for your continuous support, and I really hope that you enjoy the video.